Most of the time, those were pretty recognizable. But there are of course also either more neutral contrast schemes or even more extreme ones. Let's look at this establishing shot from a movie Logan. Would you say it is rather a low key shot or a high key shot? Well, there are more darks than lights. On the other hand, the middle of the composition is pretty bright with light values drawing attention. The values range from shadows to highlights, but it is in fact the contrast between the two what is driving your attention, which is exactly how contrast is supposed to be used. Wherever it is the most prominent, in this case the lake and the sky, is also where the most important element is placed, in this case Logan. This is not an extreme variance scenario, rather a more neutral one, something you encounter in a lot of movies where the cinematographer doesn't want to go specifically for too much of a dramatic effect or wants to go more natural with his shots. Same can be said about this establishing shot from the Inglourious Bastards. The lack of drama in the variance here is aimed specifically at supporting the picturesque nature of the scene. There is of course so much more to talk about, especially about the composition and the colors, but we are not there yet. Instead, let's just focus on a gray tone version of this and this is the value chart we get. Pretty mellow pretty neutral with lights predominating for sure, but not in a dramatic way. As you've surely realized, these mid-variance scenarios are great for establishing shots. In other words, anytime you show a scene or an environment for the first time and you want to introduce it to the audience in a neutral way without too much of a dramatic undertone. And then we can have the extreme opposite of this, the extreme variance cases. This is where movie shots stop representing clearly recognizable environments and instead start steering into the direction of abstraction. Usually all you see then is painting with shapes and silhouettes. If sometimes goes light and dark and almost nothing in between. For example, Blade Runner 2049 was full of these sorts of shots. Or this one from the assassination of Jesse James B. Why the Coward Robert Ford. Whoever came up with the name of this film deserves a medal. As you can see there is very little in a shot, but the lightest and the brightest values. And it works because we focus only on what's most important, the silhouettes of the characters and what they're doing. Needless to say this is great for the most dramatic scenes our character reveals. It really looks more like a comic strip, less like a movie at this point. Of course you can't use these all the time. It is more like the special trick that you only want to employ sparingly. When you put it in between more regular shot sequences, it will make it stand out immediately, making it all the more impressive.